Welcome and thank you for joining our annual meeting of PMA members done virtually for the second time in our 82 years of existence. People's Memorial Association would like to acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the coastal Salish, Squamish, and Suquamish nations on which we work and live. I'm the president of the board of directors for both People's Memorial Association and the Co-op Funeral Home, which we often refer to collectively as PMA. We 12 board members and the PMA staff appreciate the extra efforts that you expended to join this webinar this morning in a secure manner. The ongoing pandemic reminds us daily of both the relevance and the poignancy of PMA's work to remain the trusted resource and thought leader for funeral choice, education, and advocacy in Washington State, and create a secure future where everyone has access to after-death arrangements that reflect our personal values and resources. Now, I'd like to introduce our board members and the PMA staff members who are presenting during this webinar. And I think we should be seeing some photos of our board and staff members. Great. I'm the president of the board, Cheryl Jennings. The vice president of the board is June Michelle. Our board secretary, Megan Walker, can't be with us this morning. Our board treasurer is Ann Norman. Here we go. I think the pictures are starting to catch up now. All right. Nina Schoen will be acting as our secretary today. We have Erica Campbell, Sandra Vanderven, Carrie Andrews, Doris Mannies, and our board alternates are Frances Palmer and Andrea Fitzgerald. Our retiring board member is Danny Geiger. And our staff are Executive Director Nora Menken, our Business Manager Jeff Cohen, our Communications Manager Beverly Trick, and our Administrative Assistant, is Jessica Runner. As housekeeping matters due to the webinar format, we will be asking for vocal affirmation of motions during the meeting from the board of members whom I just introduced. And then you'll see a pop-up on your screen for all of you meeting attendees to vote on the motions. To submit questions during the webinar, please type them in using the chat or question and answer function at the bottom of your screen. I'll give you a moment to find them. Beverly will monitor the incoming questions and let us know at the end of our presentation what questions we need to clarify and to answer for you. Throughout the meeting, we'll be putting links to the information in the chat box. We will also include these links and a recording of this meeting in a follow-up email that we'll send to all of you tomorrow. We plan for this meeting to last for 1 hour. At the end of the meeting, we'll automatically enter you into a prize drawing upon completing a survey for which we'll give you the link. So we'll make it worth your while to stay and participate till the end. I would like now to welcome Nina Schoen, who's the acting secretary for today's meeting, to ask you for your approval of our agenda and the 2020 annual meeting minutes. Nina?
Nina needs to unmute.
Yes, thank you. The agenda for this annual meeting was emailed to all of you who registered for this webinar, and the link is being put in chat. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the agenda for this year's annual meeting?
So moved.
Would someone like to second?
I'll second that.
Great. All in favor of approving the agenda for the 2021 annual meeting, choose aye in the poll, and those opposed choose nay.
Huh.
Okay, we'll go just one more second. It looks like almost everyone's voted.
Wait for your go, Beverly.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to give as many folks an opportunity as possible. So as you can see, this was approved unanimously.
Great. The ayes have it and the agenda is approved. The minutes of last year's annual meeting were emailed to all of you who registered for this webinar, and the link is being put in chat. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes for last year's annual meeting?
So moved.
Would somebody like to second?
Seconded.
Great. All in favor of approving the minutes for 2020's annual meeting, choose aye, and those opposed choose nay.
Well, these votes are coming in fast. Just one more second. Okay, looks like it's been approved unanimously.
Great, the ayes have it. The minutes are approved. I would now like to introduce Nora Menken, Executive Director of People's Memorial Association and the Co-op Funeral Home.
Thank you, Nina, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. In 2020, we conducted our biennial funeral home price survey. Every other year, we collect the general price lists from all the Washington state funeral homes and analyze the information to compare the apples to apples cost of the funeral and cremation services. Its results enable Washington state residents to easily find their local funeral homes and the expected costs in their area, and thereby enabling them to make decisions that are best for their family. With the coronavirus pandemic, the need to have cremation and burial pricing available to consumers online is increasingly apparent. Washington state funeral homes are leading the nation in increasing this transparency, with 51% of funeral homes including at least partial pricing on their websites. This is up from 38% in 2018 and 27% in 2016. On the next slide, you'll see that our top findings for the 2020 Washington State Price Survey. Cremation prices in the state vary by over 745%. The average cost for direct cremation in the state is $1,570 and ranges from $495 to $4,165. Beverly, I'm not seeing the next slide. There we go, thank you. Burial prices can vary by over 400%. The average price of direct burial is $2,924, with prices ranging from $1,045 to $5,290. Keep in mind that these prices do not include the cost of the cemetery plots or fees. A complete funeral service averages $5,071 and can be as low as $2,045 and as high as $11,100. But again, that does not include the cost of the cemetery plots. Last year, only 6% of funeral homes did not provide pricing. They either required a personal visit or just didn't respond to my emails or phone calls requesting that pricing. This is certainly better than the 31% of unresponsive funeral homes in 2018. The study reinforces the importance of consumers shopping around and planning ahead to assure they receive the final arrangements that they want at a price they can afford. Here is Josh Slocum, the Executive Director of Funeral Consumers Alliance, to give you some other updates.
Hi, I'm Joshua Slocum, Executive Director of Funeral Consumers Alliance. Thank you very much for having me at your meeting. I'm sorry that I can't see you in person. You may not know this, but you are a member of the oldest and largest supporting organization in our federation. Funeral Consumers Alliance is made up of largely volunteer-run, but some staffed like PMA, consumer groups around the country that make up our organization collectively. And they give information to consumers about funeral planning, whether it's burial, cremation, body donation, alkaline hydrolysis. So we are able to do what we do thanks to your support. So thank you very much. So what do we do? I want to tell you about our main public policy project that's gone on for the past year. There's a regulation called the Funeral Rule that comes from the Federal Trade Commission. And that rule has been around since 1984. And it gives you, the consumer, specific rights when you go to make funeral arrangements. So it gives you the right to get price quotes by phone. It gives you the right to have a printed, itemized price list handed to you at the very beginning of a funeral arrangements discussion. It gives you the right to decline services like embalming. And it gives you the right to pick and choose items and services a la carte. So funeral homes are not allowed to compel you to buy a package. This rule has been around since '84 and it needs updating. And the biggest loophole in this rule is that it doesn't take account of the internet. So while funeral homes have to hand you that printed itemized price list when you show up in person, they're not required under law to put it on their websites. And that's what we want to change. So last year, the Federal Trade Commission decided to review the funeral rule. They do this every 10 years and ask the public what changes they thought needed to be made. And more than 700 people around the country, including consumer organizations and a lot of PMA members, thank you, submitted commentary. So did we. We gave them a comprehensive report, and here's what we asked for. Number one priority, mandate that funeral homes place their full price lists online. This has been something consumers have needed for a long time because the only way to get a full price list from a funeral home under the law today is to show up in person. This is not practical if people are looking to economize and plan at the last minute after a death has occurred. We think it needs to be on the internet too. So we've asked the Federal Trade Commission to mandate online pricing. We've also asked them to require funeral homes to truthfully disclose the full cost of cremation when they advertise their prices for cremation. We found in our surveys that about 20% of funeral homes are not including the average $350 crematory fee when they advertise a price for something like direct cremation. So that fee comes as a surprise later after you've done the arrangements. We think that needs to change. We've also asked the FTC to get rid of the so-called non-declinable fee that funeral homes are allowed to charge every consumer, regardless of how much or how little they buy. And we asked the FTC to launch an investigation of the cemetery industry, analogous to the one that they performed that led up to the passage of the funeral rule, because we've seen that consumers face some of the same misrepresentations and unfair sales practices at cemeteries that they sometimes do at funeral homes. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I know you have a lot on your program today. But again, thank you very much for your support. We would not be able to speak for you and to speak on behalf of bereaved Americans in front of the Federal Trade Commission without you. Take good care. Hi, I'm Josh.
Thank you so much to Josh and the FCA for all the work that they do for us at the federal level. Last year, I began our first virtual annual meeting acknowledging that our world looked a whole lot different than even a few weeks ago. Here we are a year later, still in the midst of a pandemic. In 2020, PMA's contracted funeral homes stepped up with the increase in cases and provided a record number of funeral and cremation services in the professional and caring manner expected by our members of any of our partners. Here is our partner, Resting Waters Pet Funeral Home, to give you an update on their services.
Hi, People's Memorial members. This is Jocelyn Roth at Resting Waters, Seattle's pet funeral home located in West Seattle. We are happy to announce that we've been able to remain open during these difficult times of COVID-19, and we've been able to serve many, many families over the last year. We also wanted to let you know that with your People's Memorial membership, you do receive a 15% discount here at Resting Waters when you are in need of our services for your companion animals. If you do need us, please reach out. Thank you and take care. Hi.
Thank you so much to Resting Waters for the service they provide for our members and for the greater Seattle community. The PMA plans and prices are renegotiated with our partnering funeral homes every 2 years. The PMA Contracts Committee has been hard at work with our providers and the results of the 2020 price survey to get the new contracts in place for this summer. PMA strives to provide excellent value and service to our members, all while making sure our partnering providers' needs are also addressed. The pandemic has increased costs on labor with the increased need of PPE, with safety of funeral home employees being paramount. The cost of merchandise, caskets, and urns has risen due to the global supply chain disruption. With all this in mind, here are the new PMA plans and prices that will go into effect July 1st, 2021. You can always find the up-to-date list of our partnering funeral homes on our website. The link is in the chat box. Usually when this meeting takes place in person, our partnering organizations set up tables to provide our members with information about the services they provide. This year, we asked for short videos like some of the ones you've already seen to show you what our partners are currently doing. Here are 2 more of our partners, Bannister Advisors and End of Life Collective.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Laughlin, and I am the principal and founder of Bannister Advisors, where our team helps clients gracefully navigate some of life's most overwhelming challenges. We are so grateful to collaborate with Nora and her team at People's Memorial and the Co-op Funeral Home. Through our direct support to families facing life-limiting diagnoses and those who have recently lost someone close, we always know that a referral to PMA means that these families will be so very well taken care of. Bannister Advisors is a new type of professional services firm. We offer a project-based case management approach for individuals and families facing health crises, complex elder care, end-of-life, bereavement, and estate settlement. Our team of professionals with backgrounds in social work and advisory services is dedicated to ensuring that our clients' unique concerns are addressed discreetly, efficiently, and appropriately. We collaborate with world-class partners like PMA to deliver outcomes for clients using a compassionate, team-based approach. With offices in Seattle and Portland, we serve clients around the world using remote, in-person, and hybrid models. Thank you.
Hello, PMA family. This is Michael Hebb, the founder of EOL.community and Death Over Dinner. And I'm just here to say thank you for being a PMA member and supporter and let you know a little bit about EOL. If you haven't been to our platform yet, People's Memorial is featured. There are also hundreds of end-of-life providers, experts, courses, articles, recipes and stories, pretty much anything that has to do with end-of-life planning, with a family who might be going through a difficult time and have a loved one in the ICU, or funerals, ways to explore memorialization, grief, and we have events and live streams on all of the time. And we have many of the organizations and providers that PMA supports and sends people to are also partners and providers on our platform. And the most exciting thing is it's a community. It's a social network where you can meet people and reach out to experts, and it's all free. And it's just EOL.community is the URL. Thanks for having us.
Just before our worlds turned sideways at the beginning of March of 2020, we moved into new office space for both PMA and the Co-op Funeral Home, our member-owned funeral home in Seattle. Since we have not been able to open up our new space to the public, we filmed this walkthrough so you can enjoy our new space as much as the staff has in the last year. When I filmed that walkthrough a few weeks ago, I neglected to record footage of the sanctuary and chapel that the Co-op Funeral Home has access to and looks forward to using with our families once it's safe to have gatherings again. We are so lucky to have an amazing staff that has always provided exemplary service to our members and has particularly stepped up in the last year to modify how we can best serve our community under the social distancing guidelines. Jessica came to us as an intern through a program with the YWCA, and we are delighted to have her on staff now as our administrative assistant. She has been answering all the questions that come through our phone lines and email. Amanda returned from her maternity leave in the midst of a pandemic and has overseen one of the largest increases in our membership and fundraising efforts in my time with PMA. This includes building our new planned giving program. Beverly was promoted to communications manager, and she has stepped up to convert and create our virtual educational programming and manages all our social media. She'll tell you more about that new curricula a little later. Jeff, our business manager, not only takes care of the financials for both the co-op and the People's Memorial Association, he also wears the hats of HR, IT, and many other initials that make everything run smoothly. The Co-op Funeral Homes team of funeral directors, Chris, Kim, and Rachel, have maintained the funeral home's continuity of operations, even with the increase in case volume from the coronavirus pandemic. The Co-op Funeral Home was already handling over 60% of arrangements remotely for the ease of clients, so shifting to 100% remote arrangements in March of 2020 was fairly seamless. We bid farewell to two wonderful funeral director interns, Kale and Anthony, who have taken on new opportunities, and we look forward to welcoming a new addition to the team, Elon, next week. At the beginning of 2021, we went live with a new system to help our members make pre-arrangements online. The Co-op Funeral Home of People's Memorial is now offering an online tool to prepay for your funeral arrangements through a life insurance policy. This user-friendly tool will walk you through the process step by step. Your funds will be put into a life insurance policy with Homesteaders Life Insurance to ensure your money is protected and available when needed. The passage of Senate Bill 5001 in 2019 made Washington State the first state in the US to allow both natural organic reduction, also known as human composting or recomposition, and alkaline hydrolysis, also known as aquamation or water cremation. And they are two new final disposition options in addition to cremation and burial services. That law went into effect just before last year's annual meeting. Both options became available in Washington State toward the end of 2020. Here's a video update from our partners at Recompose to tell you more about how they provide natural organic reduction.
Hello, People's Memorial Association members. Anna from Recompose here. We're proud to be a member of PMA and to give you an update on what the last year has been like for Recompose. In late 2020, Recompose opened our first location called the Greenhouse. Since opening, we've turned nearly 40 humans into soil. These people have been environmentalists, organic farmers, artists, teachers, engineers, and more, including a few PMA members. It has been an honor to work with our customers and their communities to bring their wishes for ecological death care to life. Thank you also to the 52 PMA members who have joined our prepayment program called Precompose to select Recompose for their future death care. We have over 650 Precompose members total, with more joining every day. We're proud to offer an exclusive coupon code to PMA members, which offers a 5% discount off our standard price. No one else gets a discount, only PMA members. You can take advantage of this benefit by entering the code 1939-2011 when you sign up for Recompose online, or by contacting PMA or Recompose. If you missed that code, no problem, just email us or give us a call and we can give that code to you again. Our phone number is 206-800-8733. That's 206-800-TREE. The future is also looking very strong here at Recompose. We're currently leading legal efforts to legalize our process in Oregon, California, Colorado, and New York. And in Oregon and Colorado, they've already passed their first chamber. So we're hopeful those bills will pass into law this session. We're also planning to open a second Seattle area location within the next year. And we're hiring a staff member to help lead those expansion efforts. If you know someone who might be interested in our capital projects manager role, please have them apply on our website at recompose.life/jobs. Thank you, PMA members, for your continued enthusiasm and support for what we're doing. We really appreciate it, and we love hearing how this resonates with people and all of your ideas for how we can continue to grow the movement and what you're going to do with your soil. It's really a joy to hear. You can learn more about us by visiting recompose.life, by calling us at 206-800-TREE, or by engaging with us on social media at Recompose Life. Thank you, PMA members. We appreciate you. Bye.
Thank you, Anna. Just a reminder, we will be emailing you copies of all these links and discount codes in a follow-up email tomorrow. The Co-op Funeral Home had the honor of arranging for the first aquamation performed in Washington State. Here is our funeral director intern, Rachel, to tell you more about it.
Hello, my name is Rachel LeBlanc, and I'm a funeral director intern for the Co-op Funeral Home of People's Memorial. This past October 2020, I had the absolute honor to arrange the first aquamation here in Washington State. Oh, you haven't heard of aquamation? Well, aquamation, more formally known as alkaline hydrolysis, is a process quite similar to cremation. However, instead of using fire, it uses highly pressurized water and a bit of potassium hydroxide, an alkaline. It uses 1/8
as much energy as cremation.
And over the course of about 6 to 8 hours, it reduces one's body down to our most basic components: water, salts, sugars, and amino acids, resulting in a sterile fluid that's safely disposed of. The remaining bone fragments are processed down into a powder, so families still receive an urn full of ashes. However, because they haven't been exposed to the flame, they're the natural color of the bone, and the family receives about a third more in volume than from regular cremation. Slowly being accepted as an option across the United States, Washington was the 19th state to legalize aquamation, enacting the law in May of 2020. By October, the equipment at our care center was ready to go, and so was our first case. Evelyn Litwin could not have been more of a serendipitous client. She had led a life of 97 years, highly valuing science and medical advances, chiefly as a participant in the Baltimore Longitudinal Study of Aging, which began following her and her husband Fred in the 1970s. She also participated in a long-term cancer research study conducted by the Public Library of Science, and her and Fred were featured in a 1997 U.S. News and World article report entitled "Retiring Smart." So when her daughter contacted me to inquire about aquamation and shared some of her life story, we were both excited at the idea of Evelyn helping usher in a new era, even in death. I attended Evelyn's placement into the aquamation chamber on the afternoon of October 14th. Seen here is the very proud owner of our care center, Steve Webster, and his wife, the technician training us on the equipment to ensure everything ran smoothly, myself in the blue sweater, and Erica Peterson, our care center manager. Though we didn't break a bottle over the bow to commemorate the inaugural voyage, I did share a word about Evelyn's life with everyone before we hit start. As you can see, there's a lot involved behind the scenes, and the door to the machine is actually the very same installed on submarines to help keep all that pressure contained. So why choose aquamation? Well, as previously mentioned, it does use about 1/8 the energy used for cremation, which is already considered a eco-friendly alternative to traditional burial. And there's no emissions of greenhouse gases or mercury into the atmosphere as there is with regular cremation. On a personal note, as someone who has loved swimming my entire life, I love the idea of my final disposition returning me to water, which already makes up the majority of our bodies on the planet. Thank you for listening, and if you're interested in more information about aquamation as an option for you or a loved one, please go ahead and give us a call.
Thank you, Rachel. Along with our staff, our board is a remarkable group of volunteers from our PMA membership, and they will be steering our course moving forward with our new strategic plan while keeping our mission and vision at the forefront. To be the trusted resource and thought leader for funeral choice, education, and advocacy in Washington State, we envision a future where everyone has access to after-death arrangements that reflect their personal values and resources. And now I would like to introduce Ann Norman, Treasurer of the Board, and Jeff Cohn, our Business Manager.
Come on, here we go. Good morning. It's nice to see so many faces out there. Working remotely from my basement, I felt like something of a hermit. Excuse me, I've got stuff popping up on my screen. And I just lost my script. Hang on. It probably comes as no surprise that 2020 was an unexpected year for both People's Memorial Association and the Co-op Funeral Home. A year we spoke about People's Memorial being relevant. and we are certainly there now. Before I get into the facts and figures that we want to share with you, I want to point out that the graphs that you'll see on the screen will not match and do not match those that you received in the annual report mailing. At the beginning of the year, we were in process of organization-led cleanup of our finances, and we kind of ran out of time. The report went to the mail house for printing and shipping, and we finished up our numbers later on. We do want to let you know that we are in the process of switching to a different software platform, which will ensure that in the future, we can provide you with timely information for the annual meeting. For anyone seeking information, detailed information about the information we'll present, feel free to contact me anytime. My email is jeff@peoplesmemorial.org. That's the best way to reach me now since I'm working remotely. And if you call the office, I won't be there. Ann?
Thank you, Jeff. 2021 was a whirlwind year for the association. With a nudge from the coronavirus, new memberships came pouring in. Although the circumstances were unfortunate, the pandemic has brought public attention to the need for end-of-life planning. Memberships were up 15%, and requests for digital document storage were up nearly 60%. It kept our office busy, and we were grateful to have our admin intern, Jessica Runner. The pandemic also forced us to adapt our fundraising strategy. Plans for a gala-type fundraiser were scrapped, and the focus turned to virtual events like the Give Big and the Trivia Night. Through those efforts, individual donations were more than 40% above budget. Through your generous donations, we were able to help 25 families who otherwise could not meet the cost of a simple cremation for a loved one through the Cremation Assistance Fund. Your donations, both large and small, also provided us with the funds to expand our online education programs and assist members and the public with their end-of-life planning. Amanda Stock formed a committee to develop a planned giving policy that allows members and the public to make meaningful gifts of non-cash items to the association. This helps individuals meet their charitable giving goals and minimize their estate and income taxes. This planned giving policy will allow PMA to find additional sources of revenues to continue to serve the community and its members. Jeff?
The pandemic upended the year for the Co-op Funeral Home. As you might expect, our funeral directors were much busier than we anticipated. This, however, did not lead to a relative increase in sales. Although we served many more families, due to COVID restrictions, families were unable to hold funeral ceremonies, which curtailed spending. The surprise for us was the surge in non-member sales, 33% above projections. Though sales were strong, income from other sources was slightly down, leading us to end the year just a fraction above budget. It was also an expensive year. We had long outgrown our 12th Avenue suite and had for some time been searching for a suitable location. The office space available at the Queen Anne Baptist Church seemed ideal, and we went forward renovating a former preschool. We realized that the resources for the build out and the move would be extensive, so we arranged for an $80,000 loan through Shared Capital Co-op. With these funds, new walls were installed, plus new doors, flooring, and paint. The electrical system was expanded and digital cabling brought in. We also replaced most of our aging office furniture. But before the boxes had been fully unpacked, we found ourselves working remotely from home.
The Co-op Funeral Home could not anticipate what would happen during pandemic. Would we still be in business? Taking advantage of the federal stimulus money, Nora applied for and received about $80,000 from the Paychecks Protection Program. This allowed the co-op funeral home to bridge the gap while the organization was adjusting to virtual business. Late in the year, Nora and Jeff applied for the PPP loan forgiveness. As a nice holiday present, we received full forgiveness, and the organization has a strong cushion to meet future needs. The organization successfully adjusted to the new reality of COVID-19 in their ability to service the members of the community. Nevertheless, we look forward to fully utilizing our new offices in Queen Anne when the time is right. With well-established leadership and staff, PMA wrapped up 2020 with a solid financial position to continue our vision for the future. I will now turn it back over to June Michelle, Vice President of the Board. June?
Good morning. Last year, many dynamic, capable, and diverse people stepped forward to volunteer their services to PMA as both full board members serving multiple years and alternate board candidates to serve one-year terms. Because we filled so many vacancies last year, we do not have very many seats to fill this year. We sent you a link to the candidates' bios on our website to review and consider in advance. We, the current board members, appreciate their commitment to PMA's future. Now is the time to vote them into office. This year, we're very pleased to present for your affirmative vote the roster of our board member candidates, which include Cheryl Jennings and Nina Schoen, who are both volunteering to serve second three-year terms on the board. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the roster of board candidates?
So moved.
Would someone like to second?
Seconded.
All those in favor of approving the roster of board candidates for the 2021-2022 PMA TCFH Board of Directors choose aye. Those opposed choose nay.
Just one more second while a couple more votes trickle in. We've got most of our attendees almost having voted. Okay, looks like that's a unanimous vote.
Yay. Okay then. All those in, okay, so then we go. Hold on, just lost my place here. We, the current board of directors, appreciate their commitment to PMA's future. Okay. All right. So the alternate board members, they are board members who also attend all board meetings and serve on committees, just for shorter durations and in non-voting capacities. They have been the bedrock of PMA's continuity over the years, frequently advancing into full board member status as needed. We couldn't do without our board alternates, literally, or to comply with the PMA bylaws. So without further ado, we are pleased to present to you our board alternate candidates: Frances Palmer, Andrea Fitzgerald, Wyvoni Ray, and Katie Roberts. Would someone like to make a motion to approve this roster of alternate candidates?
So moved.
Would someone like to second?
Seconded.
All those in favor of approving the roster of board alternate candidates for the 2021-2022 PMA TCFH Board of Directors vote signify by by checking aye. All those opposed, choose nay.
Okay, our members are real quick to the keyboard and almost done voting. Just one more second, June.
We really need them, guys.
Okay, well, that looks unanimous as well.
All right. Okay. With that accomplished, I will introduce board member Erica Campbell to recognize our retiring board member. Erica?
Thank you, June. Just because a board member retires off the PMA board, it doesn't mean that they don't stay involved. Here's a message from our former board president, Elizabeth Copeland.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Copeland. I am the founder and chief playwright for Grief Dialogues Healthcare Education. I am currently living in Costa Rica, but my home is in Seattle, Washington, and I am not afraid to tell you that I am very homesick right now. But in the meantime, we'll be together virtually. And I would like to invite you to join in one of our productions if you're interested in learning more about how theater can impact our discussions about dying, death, and or grief. Very soon, we will have a production of a show called Hospice: A Love Story. And it is in conjunction with another play called Seth's Story. And that play is being performed in the UK. Together, these two virtual performances will happen on May 25th, 10 a.m. Seattle time. So that's 6 p.m. in the UK. And I hope that you will join us. If you're interested in joining this free event and learning more about how we use theater to start these conversations, please feel free to email me at elizabeth@griefdialogues.com or check out our website and use the contact information. Either way, I hope to see you there. In the meantime, be well, stay safe until we meet again. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Elizabeth. At this point, I'm honored to celebrate the service of Danny Giger, PMA's longest-serving board member since 2016. Danny's journey to PMA began when he and a friend decided to take a home funeral vigil class and reimagine how death can be reincorporated as a normal, natural part of life. During this class, Danny was introduced to PMA and was immediately drawn to the mission and promotion of funeral choice, education, and advocacy in Washington State. As a nonprofit, PMA was extremely lucky to have such a gifted professional fundraiser help us develop improved income streams. Danny states that his favorite part of being part of PMA is being able to proselytize on an individual basis the association's education and services as a means to build and deepen connections with his community. Danny and I bonded over our shared experiences with the living and dying cycles of people and pets. And I'm thrilled to say that Danny's enthusiasm and curiosity has informed my own relationship to living and dying in community. And my own community has benefited from his relentless inquiry and create civic space to attend to death with respect and appreciation. Danny, you will always be welcome co-conspirator in the dissemination of a good death. Thank you. With that, I would like to introduce Beverly Trick, Communications Manager of the People's Memorial Association. Beverly?
Thank you, Erica. Before I launch into my update about our programming, I would like to share a little update from one of our community partners, End of Life Washington.
End of Life Washington is nationally recognized for advancing terminally ill Washingtonians' rights to a full range of end-of-life choices, including death with dignity, through advocacy, education, and support. Volunteers from Bellingham to Spokane, from Port Townsend to Tri-Cities, are the heart and soul of End of Life Washington. Over the next year, more than 70 volunteer client advisors will support 500 clients across the state as they access death with dignity or voluntary stopping eating and drinking. 25 educational ambassadors will help more than 3,000 people increase their understanding of their own end-of-life choices, and we are proud to be the organization that Washingtonians look to advance end-of-life choices in our state, and are grateful to work alongside our many partners. Please join our movement. We're especially interested in finding volunteers from Central and Eastern Washington who can offer empowering one-on-one support to our clients. We're seeking additional ambassadors to educate communities about the importance of advanced planning for end-of-life choices, and volunteers are needed for office support such as answering our phone line. Follow us on social media to stay in touch with news and updates, or sign up for our e-newsletter by visiting www.endoflifewa.org/news/sign-up.
Okay. Saw a lot of familiar names on the registration today, and it's lovely to see you all again. There might be still a few people among us who don't recognize my face, so just in case, my name's Beverly and I'm the communications manager for PMA. This position has never existed in the history of our organization, so it's been a privilege to be the one who gets to test run it, and see what we can do. When you read an article on our Facebook or you get a newsletter in your email, I'm frequently the over-caffeinated perfectionist behind that. The real bulk of my job, however, takes place on Zoom. When COVID-19 forced us to take everything online for our safety and the safety of our members, we had to reimagine what it meant for us to continue to provide community education the way everyone's come to expect. We were, of course, just a little worried about what that would look like. Imagine my utter delight to discover that the shift to online programming actually caused an increase of 230% in attendance, and we actually managed to reach people in 5 other countries as well. With all of its infuriating little quirks, online webinars have allowed us to do things we never could have done before, like host presenters from far away, dig into topics we've never had the opportunity to before, and build a webinar library on our website that allows our members to review that information they need at their own leisure from their couch in their comfy pants. This year has already been a year of wonderful growth as we've implemented a nominal fee in the cost of registering for our sessions, which among other things allows us to offer an honorarium to those speakers who've been so generous with their time and their expertise over the many years. This fee also helps us develop and present new content that aims to answer the questions that I personally fielded back when I was PMA's admin. And in case you didn't know, that nominal fee is $5 per class for members, and non-members are welcome to join us for $10. In 2021, while I'm excited to bring back successful events like our Green Funerals Week, earlier this year I was honored to be able to conduct our first ever obituary workshop. It was built out of my own experience writing a meaningful tribute for my late grandpa this past year. And looking forward, I can't wait to bring to life our first ever Ducks in a Row in Spanish. And later this year, I'm also hoping to be able to bring a sort of back to school type event, Death Careers Week. So if you aren't already signed up for our programming newsletter, you better hurry up and do so you won't miss any updates about the awesome collaborative projects that I'm working on with our community partners as we continually strive to educate and inform Washingtonians. As you know, everything we do is about empowering you to make informed decisions that meet the needs of you, your family, and your friends at the end of life. So I have another little message here from one of those community partners that I love working with, and that's the Grateful Death.
Hello, my name is Crystal. I'm an end-of-life doula, and I am the owner of The Grateful Death. The Grateful Death offers support, guidance, and resources for a healthy transition on your terms. The role of the doula is to bridge the gap between the medical necessity and holistic comfort. We are here to journey with you from beginning to end, normalizing the process for you and your loved ones. You can find me here in Seattle, or you can find me on the web at thegratefuldeath.org. Thank you.
And I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat in just a second. So don't worry about jotting down that address.
Hello.
There we go. Okay, so The work we at PMA do to educate and support our community as they plan for and confront end of life is expansive, and it's changed in many forms over the more than 80 years we've been right here in Washington. Projects like our statewide biennial price survey could simply not happen without generous support from our volunteers. Each year at the annual meeting, we like to take a second to acknowledge the hard work those volunteers undertake in service to PMA's mission. In 2021, we'd like to draw some special attention to one volunteer in particular who's made some unique contributions over the last couple of years. I'm delighted to get to present the Volunteer of the Year Award to Kendall Hansen. We're thankful for her artistic vision, her crafting talent, and overall truly incredible creativity. From building us snow people, from balloons and cardboard for our first fundraiser, and hand painting props that we used in our photo booth, to designing graphics for our trivia night and creating fun coloring pages to share with attendees. She always brings a wealth of ideas to the planning of every event. She even donated supplies from her own wedding to help us achieve a lush and festive atmosphere when we hosted our in-person event at Cornish Playhouse back in 2019. Thank you, Kendall, for always making time to support PMA when we know you always have a gorgeous home improvement project in the works, a dollhouse to renovate, or a costume to assemble like the one we see pictured here. It means a lot to us that you share your talents with us and the community so readily. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Nora. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Beverly. And I do want to show off our plaque that we have made for our Volunteer of the Year that will hang proudly in our offices that you'll be able to see when you're allowed to come visit. I want to also acknowledge that we are going over time and be respectful of those who may have only allotted the hour for us. We had no idea how long things would take. We are recording this session and we'll send you a link if you need to leave early. But we are expanding our fundraising efforts to continue to provide all of our information and educational programs to our members in the community. The pandemic has definitely increased the demand on our Cremation Assistance Fund to support families who can't even afford the cost of a discounted PMA cremation. The one-time lifetime membership fee only makes up about 40% of our annual budget. The rest comes from individual donations from folks like you and event sponsorships. With in-person fundraising events not happening for the foreseeable future, individual contributions from our members have become increasingly vital. We are also expanding our grant-seeking efforts to position us for long-term viability.
I'm sorry about that, Nora. Looks like my slides got out of order. Do you have a second for a word from Honoring Choices?
Sure, let's hear from Bonnie. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
I'm Bonnie Bazell from Honoring Choices Pacific Northwest, a nonprofit joint initiative between the Washington State Hospital Association and the Washington State Medical Association's Foundation for Healthcare Improvement. Our work is all about advanced care planning, helping individuals have the conversations and the resources to make future healthcare decisions, and helping healthcare and community organizations have the skills and tools they need to help the individuals they see. Our vision is that everyone will receive care that honors personal values and goals at the end of life. To that end, what we do for free. As an organization, we get to focus on joy a lot. It's a great conversation starter for beginning healthcare planning. It helps illuminate what people want in their lives. For us, as an organization, for me personally, something that brings tremendous joy that we definitely want in our lives is having PMA as an ally. Augmenting and amplifying each other's messages is a great partnership. People's Memorial Association is our trusted resource for funeral information. We are so grateful and proud that PMA is part of our state. Here's to a productive and wonderful members conference, and congrats on starting your journey.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. That's really illustrative of the partnerships that we have been forming with like-minded organizations, including Honoring Choices Pacific Northwest. We also, did you know that Group Health Medical Center and Credit Union were founded by the same people who founded People's Memorial Association? When Kaiser purchased the medical center a few years ago, the credit union component was rebranded as Salal Credit Union. Salal is a member-owned cooperative just like PMA and passes any profit that it realizes back to its members in the form of higher interest rates on deposit accounts. In fact, Salal's website says that you qualify to be a member of Salal Credit Union if you're a member of People's Memorial Association. I only learned this information thanks to a PMA member who happened to read about it on their website and called to tell me about it. After that, I contacted Salal, and together we have developed a very beneficial partnership that will enable PMA members to easily open pay-on-death savings accounts to set aside funds for funeral and cremation services. And we are continuing to work with Salal to improve that process. We do need to continue to grow our membership base, so we're looking at expanding our member benefits. Most folks join PMA for the discounted pricing we negotiate with our partnering funeral homes. Then they learn about our classes and planning paperwork and advocacy for the funeral consumer. We may be biased, but we think everyone should be a member and normalize the planning and conversations about death within Washington State and beyond. We will continue to explore how to best reach, serve, and advocate for our members and all of Washington State. I would like to invite you to support our work and make a gift to our spring appeal to ensure the accessibility of clear information about death and dying. These funds will support access to legal documents like the disposition authorization, consumer protection resources like the price survey, organizational tools for end-of-life planning, and compassionate and knowledgeable staff who can respond to a member's needs on a daily basis. Please visit peoplesmemorial.org/donate to offer your support today. That link is in the chat. Amanda Stock is PMA's Membership and Development Director, and she couldn't be here today because she's acting as a maid of honor at her friend's wedding, but she made this recording to show in her place.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. In 2020, we saw a surge in new membership for the first time in 3 years, which was likely due to the pandemic. Over 2,000 new members joined us. With the threat of COVID-19 making us all very aware of our mortality, many turned to PMA for help. We shared these news stories of need with our community and saw an overwhelming response during our fundraisers. And I'm happy to share that we surpassed many of our fundraising goals. Most notably was the Giving Tuesday campaign in December. We raised $11,000 for the Cremation Assistance Fund. This fund covers 75% of the cost of the PMA member price for direct cremation. As you can imagine, we saw an increase in people applying for financial assistance. So much so that we went over budget in 2020 and supported 5 additional families than we planned. We believed strongly in not turning away anyone who qualified and needed support. So in 2021, we plan to support 25 families once again for a total of $15,000. Since we still have a little bit more to raise, I invite you to become a family ally, which is the new name that we're calling our monthly donation program. If you commit to just $50 a month, you will support 1 family in 1 year. But of course, we welcome any amount. If you'd like to get started, visit us online at peoplesmemorial.org/give monthly. Thanks to our generous donors, we are able to support our 71,300 members and their loved ones. Our compassionate and knowledgeable staff remain available to respond to your unique needs. As technology advances and companies move towards automation, I am especially grateful that Washingtonians have access to this quality service. We all have unique needs when it comes to planning for end of life, so I think it's really important to be able to speak with someone directly who can help walk you through that process. We often hear from people from other parts of the country wondering if there are organizations similar to PMA where they live, but often, unfortunately, we have to tell them no, there isn't. This past year has shown us just how truly unique PMA is and how many people depend on this organization. We're increasingly aware of our collective responsibility to ensure that PMA is around for years to come. So that's why we decided it was time to launch a planned giving program. So now you can include PMA in your will. You can make gifts from your IRA account or your donor advised fund, or you can make gifts of stock or mutual funds. These options are becoming increasingly popular because they're tax efficient and they're actually pretty easy to set up. If you're interested in learning more, we've set up a web page or a page on our website explaining these options. So you can visit that page at www.peoplesmemorial.org/planned-giving. Or I would be more than happy to help you and discuss these options. If you'd like to reach out to me at amanda@peoplesmemorial.org. Needless to say, we were uncertain of how the pandemic was going to affect our operations. But as the months went by, our worry began to fade. We were overwhelmed with the amount of support that we received from so many of you. Thank you for showing up for your community. I'm a new mom now, and so I am much more aware of how I spend my time and who I spend my time with. And I'm happy to share that I consider it a privilege to be on this team. I work with so many caring and loving individuals, and I'm surrounded by so many caring and loving supporters like you. So I thank you for being here, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you so much to Amanda for all she does. I'm now happy to introduce retiring board member Danny Giger to discuss other ways you can support PMA financially.
Thank you, Nora. As members and supporters, you know People's Memorial Association is the trusted resource and thought leader for funeral choice, education, and advocacy in Washington State, and indeed the entire United States. We're incredibly lucky to have this amazing organization in our backyard, and it's also a co-op, and how cool is that? But PMA can't do this important work without you. And I believe so strongly in the mission of PMA that I joined the board. And equally as importantly, I support the organization financially. And let me tell you why. On a pragmatic level, PMA is doing the day in and day out legwork so that all of us, you and me, can access financially reasonable choices around how we choose to celebrate our values and loved ones at the end of our own and our loved ones' lives. This is why I make a small reoccurring monthly gift to PMA. It's what I can do right now to make sure this important work, this day in and day out important work continues. But I've also chosen to include PMA in my will. And I do this for another reason. PMA is a beacon of light in a culture that hasn't come to terms with death and dying. Conversations about death and dying are for me so important to understanding what it means to fully live. For death is a part of life, not separate from it. PMA's practical, tangible work around what to do with our very real bodies at the time of death, their workshops on getting your ducks in a row, and the legislative work that ensure we all have choices. This work illuminates and creates a cultural space for these broader philosophical conversations. As a board member, I've seen firsthand the incredible ripple effect of PMA's work and how it is literally bringing conversations about death and dying that for too long have been relegated to the shadows, bringing these conversations into the light. PMA is in my will because I want this beacon to be there illuminating those important conversations for my children and for generations to come. So I invite you to join me and consider including PMA in your estate planning. It's so easy to do. Just talk to your estate planning provider and ask them to include a line like I did. Literally, please dedicate 1% or whatever percent you choose of my estate to the important work PMA does on behalf of all of us. Literally, it can be that simple. And thank you for your support. It really does make a difference. Now I'll hand it back to Cheryl Jennings.
Okay, well, we now come to the question and answer part. Again, we appreciate that you're bearing with us, although this is taking longer than we had anticipated. We thank you for the Q&A questions we got. For people who are wondering where that is, it's on the lower right of your screen. So now I'd like to ask Beverly, who's been kind of monitoring and collating the questions in the Q&A section, if you would kind of shepherd us through in answering them. Beverly?
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. Well, I am taking a look through here, and it looks like we don't have very many questions today. So I like to think that's a reflection of how thorough all these updates have been from each of our board members. But let me see if maybe I can find some questions in here, maybe about our advocacy efforts. It looks like a couple of our members are looking towards the future, just like the rest of us at PMA, and would like to know what our next big advocacy project is. Some folks had suggested maybe something about land use action or consumer protection for burial plot contracts. Any updates from you, Nora, about that kind of thing?
We'll definitely be looking into some of those as well. We do have a legislative committee that in the past year, other priorities have shifted away from that. But my goal was that this summer to reactivate that committee to really look at things at the legislative level in Washington State that we can be involved with. We have had a few members approach us about the issues with secular hospital systems being acquired by Catholic systems and their worry about the what will be able to be provided with those mergers. So there's a few questions that have come to us both from members and from the board that we will be taking a look at. Hopefully this summer is when we will be able to make that more of a priority. But if any issues that are coming up, please feel free to email us and we will make sure to make it a part of what we look into.
I'll make sure that you get these more detailed messages, Nora. There's some really wonderful suggestions in here for some things maybe we could get involved in.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what else we've got in here. Yeah, please don't be shy with your questions. That's the whole reason we're all here, is to make sure you all have the information you need to make those informed choices. And if you are feeling a little bit shy, please feel free to directly message any of us on the in the board, myself, Nora, and we will keep your identity secret with your question. So it looks like someone would like to know what the price difference is between direct cremation and aquamation.
So since aquamation has just become legalized in the past few months in Washington State, there is only one provider that is offering it so far. It is a huge capital outlay to bring the machine in to be able to set it up and get the permits and everything like that. So it is more expensive than cremation. As we've seen reflected in other states as well, on average, the cost of alkaline hydrolysis tends to be about twice the average cost of cremation. As you could see, the cost of cremation varies widely, even within Washington State, and it can vary even more widely in other states. But in general, we've been kind of seeing that alkaline hydrolysis comes in at about twice the average cost of cremation where it's a new technology. The hope is that once the capital outlay has been paid off, that those costs will come down. The machines are have a longer life expectancy than most cremation units do, and so the servicing that's required on them is significantly less, but they are significantly more expensive machines. So that's kind of what we've been letting people know, is that it will be more expensive than cremation, still far less expensive than burial, but hopefully those costs will come down as it is more adopted as a practice and those initial capital expenses are paid off.
Okay, and I'm dropping some links in the chat for you to be able to explore that a little bit more individually. The breakdown of the cost of cremation is on there. I'm going to go ahead and drop in our contracted providers as well. And like Nora mentioned, there is sort of a limited amount of access to providing aquamation across the state of Washington. So if you do have questions about that, those are best directed to the individual funeral home to kind of figure out how they're handling that on the case-by-case basis.
Since we've really gone so far over time, I'm going to say let's work on wrapping things up, and please let us know if you have any other questions. Email info@peoplesmemorial.org is the best way to reach us, and someone will get back to you to answer your questions.
Okay. Well, let's see if we've got a couple more in here we can tackle before we close out for the day, so we don't lose the whole day just to this meeting. Okay. So if people are, inspired by this meeting to maybe purchase some gift memberships for the people in their life, where would you encourage them to do that? Is there a special place you can maybe do that?
On our website, peoplesmemorial.org. We encourage everyone to become a member and to make everyone they love a member who lives in Washington State.
What about people that don't live in Washington State? What can they do?
So Funeral Consumers Alliance is the national organization that has affiliates all over the country. Because state rules and regulations vary so widely, it's really important to get in touch with your local affiliate because they can give you the best information about your state. So visit Funeral Consumers Alliance. I believe they are funerals.org, and they will be able to direct you to your closest affiliate that is doing similar work to PMA.
And I went ahead and I dropped in the membership application for attendees, as well as the link to the funerals.org, so you can share that information with your friends and family around the country.
Excellent. Thank you, Beverly.
Well, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't address this question because we stand to benefit a little bit from it. What's that address if people want to maybe send us a donation in the mail?
Our new address is 2011 2011 First Avenue North, Seattle, Washington, 98109. It is all over our website, and we'd be happy to accept check donations as well.
That's donations of any size. Don't worry if you can't send us the big bucks. It's those little donations that make it possible for us to show up every day and help get this important work done for Washingtonians. Well, how about one last question? Do you have any recommendations for people who are members of PMA? How can they explain to their family what to do at time of death? Who should contact us, or what's that process look like?
Definitely. I mean, these are all conversations to have before death occurs. Everything is easier when the conversations have been had ahead of time. And the information does change. And the best place to find it is our website, peoplesmemorial.org. There we have the up-to-date list of contracted providers, our costs, everything like that. It is best to let your family know to check that website because things do change. Like I said, our current contracts are up at the end of June, and we have new contracts starting in July. And so we always want to make sure people have up-to-date information, and our website is always up to date.
All right, and I just dropped our website into the chat again for you, as well as the email address for our info box. And, don't worry if you haven't quite thought how to word your question just yet. If it comes to you in the shower later, feel free to shoot us an email over there or leave us a voicemail at any time. And we'll make sure to go ahead and get you the information you need. And if we don't know the specific answer to your question, we have friends all over in all sorts of death adjacent professions who can get you the information you need. And if we notice any trends, we'll make sure and update our newsletters accordingly. We've recognized the hard work of our staff and our volunteers today, and we'd love it if maybe you'd make a pledge to support PMA and its work in 2021. And it doesn't have to be a monetary pledge. Like I said, we know how tight money can be. It's important to us that you pledge to tell your friends about that, what that membership means to you, and share that with your families as well. And, pledging to do something simple like having that advanced conversation, like Nora said, goes a long way. And in educating your family and destigmatizing conversations about death, it's just so important. And let us know if you could use some support as you undertake that process. We know it can be a little bit onerous, but that's what we're here for. I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over to Cheryl, who's going to adjourn the meeting for today. Cheryl.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you to the 168 people who registered to join us this morning. People come and go throughout the event, but 168 people will either have been here or have access to everything we've talked about. Beverly's put a link in the chat box for you to complete an attendee survey. If you complete it, you'll be automatically entered into a drawing for a special prize. Don't worry if you don't have time to do it right now. The survey link will be emailed to you. Please do keep an eye on our website and newsletter for the date of next year's annual meeting. The 2021 People's Memorial Association and the Co-op Funeral Home annual meeting is now officially adjourned. Thanks for joining us today. Have a good year. Bye-bye.